Welcome back to the channel, guys. So I've had a lot of requests, when I talk about all the carbon fiber trim delaminating on these GS-Fs and the RCFs, people wanted to see if you're gonna take the panels apart to send them off to like SMA Fabrication in Florida to have them refinished, how do you do that? And so this video is about how to remove those carbon fiber pieces, specifically the two on the front dash and the center console. So this will primarily focus on the two front pieces and the center console, but I will also show you one of the door panels and its repeat for the other four. The two in the rear typically don't delaminate on these cars, but the fronts definitely do. And so I will show you how to remove the driver's front door panel, the left and right dash panel, and the center console. And not very difficult to do, but you just have to be careful so you don't damage the surrounding dash pieces and things like that. So anyway, here we go. Easiest first, we will do the trim piece to the left of the steering wheel. You're going to need a trim tool removal, and it just pries back. You will slightly pry up. This piece is held only in by 4 clips, and you'll also need to pry up on the surround around the cluster. I didn't show it here. I'm going to show it one more time at a better angle here. Pops right back in. Also, there you can see, you just pop the trim out, and that gives you access to it because it's kind of hooked in there. So you just lift forward or towards yourself. That gains you the access you need, and then you can just pop it out. It's very simple. So next we're going to do the center console. Going to open the glove box, remove the center surround, and you'll also need to have that removed for the passenger front piece too. But let's start with removing the center console trim. So you kind of pull up and back, and it's just sitting there with clips. Then you're going to remove 2 10mm bolts on the left side of the shifter, push down on the shift boot, and then unscrew the shift knob. And then pull straight up gently, and there are 5 connectors that you need to remove. And then you can continue working your way around. There's several screws that hold on the actual carbon fiber trim piece to gain access to what you need to send off. If you need to go one step further to remove the cup holder, you have to have the console out first, and then the cup holder you will pull straight up, and the heated and cooled seat buttons behind it come up with it, and you have to disconnect it further. And I'm not going to show that here, but it's one more step further just to lift up. But the center console does have to come out in order to do it. And that is the reason the center console delaminates. That is the rear vent. That gets cold and hot, and that's what causes the delamination. So conveniently, while I have this piece out, you can see the piano black gets some swirls and scratches in it. I'm going to use my Rupes Hybrid Nano cordless polisher with a fine pad to polish some of it, using Sonax Perfect Finish. Won't get it perfect. I just kind of did a quick once over. You'll be able to see the difference here. And of course, if you take it off out from the carbon fiber, you can get closer and do it a little better. But yeah, it's much better than it was. I'm the only one that's going to notice it. So now on to the passenger side. This is the big pain in the butt part. The lower airbag you have to remove. You just pull it straight down, and there's one connector. And then on the glove box, there's 3 Phillips head screws that towards the top that you just need to unscrew. If you're only doing this piece, you'll also need to remove the passenger side center console trim piece. So it depends on how you're doing it. I'm doing all of it. The bottom of the glove box, there are 2 10mm screws, one on each side. You'll need to remove those as well. And after that, you should be able to just pull straight back, like towards you. Remove the side trim piece as well, but you pull straight back towards you, And then there are two more connectors that you need to unhook. One's a light and one is the, I guess, the trunk release cancel. Okay, so this is what you're trying to gain access to. There's two 10mm bolts underneath there, and there's also a bracket in the way. That's the telematics ECU. That's your 3G or 4G modem. The bracket is in the way of one of them, so you're going to have to remove the bracket. And there are three 10mm screws. One is kind of hidden, but there's three 10mm screws that have to be removed in order to gain access to that one screw. You don't have to unhook anything from the telematics ECU, that gray box. You just have to remove it temporarily out of the way. So you can see kind of a better view there. I'm holding my camera underneath, looking up towards the back of that carbon fiber piece. See tons of clips, tons of screws, but none of that's important until you actually get the entire piece out first. They are hard to find. You can see there's a little diamond shaped on the bottom of the trim that kind of points to where those bolts are. You can see that. And there is the old ancient dinosaur 3G telematics ECU that didn't work after 2022, thanks to that being sunset. So now I have both of those two screws removed. We're leaving the telematics bracket down for right now. There is one more sensor that needs to be removed, and it is for the temperature control sensor. And so if you haven't already removed this, you'll have to remove the center surround again, depending on what part you're doing. But if you're doing the dash piece, you're going to have to remove the center piece. There are two 10mm screws underneath the head unit. You need to remove both of those. However, before you pull it out, make sure you put a microfiber towel or something down. You can see that my cup holder is already scratched, and that's because it has been removed before by the previous owner and it got scratched. So let's put that down. You don't need to unhook anything, but however, if you're doing a Beat Sonic or a Lexion or something like that, this would be a perfect time to do it because you're going to have to remove all this anyway. But for the instances of just the carbon fiber, we are just pulling it out. The reason being, the clock has an interlocking hook with this piece of trim, and so the clock assembly with the vents has to be pulled out in order to remove that carbon fiber piece. Really silly that you have to go to all of that extent just to remove that piece. And it's pressure fit, and you can see that hook right there. That is the reason we have to remove everything to get it, and then it should just pull right out, and there it is. Putting it back in, the trim piece has to go in first. The carbon fiber trim piece has to go back in first, then the clock, then the radio, then the cover for it, in that order. And that's the new piece, and I'll show you how you swap those out here in a second. Just way complex. And by the way, these are the SMA fabrication pieces that he redid for me, and they look fantastic. You really can't tell the difference. So what you need to do, there's several Phillips head screws on the back side, and then there's one hidden behind the air vent. And the air vent, once you have everything else off, the air vent, you just kind of have to pull and kind of walk it out, and it will come right off. And there is the hidden Phillips screw right there. So once you remove that, the carbon fiber piece is free, and you just kind of have to pry it out just a little bit. It's hooked on the corner just slightly, a little bit of a pressure fit, and it will pop right out. Just be gentle. These are painted plastic for the trim piece. You can scratch them very easily, so just take your time. So there's the old piece, and of course the reverse of the same to get everything back the way it needs to be. Also swap over the clips depending on if your piece has them or not. If you bought it used from somewhere, it may be missing some of those clips. Just make sure you have all of the ones in there that are good, and we're back in business. And that's the finished product. Nope, got a little piece of dirt on it there. That's the old ones. Caught it kind of early. So next up is the door. I'm going to do the front passenger door. You're going to need a trim tool and a Phillips screwdriver. That is it. There's a piece up by the door handle. There is a little piece of carpet over the door grab. You're going to want to remove that. And use your trim tool from the rear. Pry up. Lift the other side. Disconnect the connector. There are 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. That you're going to remove. All are Phillips head. And the rest is held on by tabs or clips. You can see that 2 of them are the same length, same bolt. So then you're just going to sort of grab from the bottom and pry, and then work your way around the door. And then you're going to lift out and up at the same time. There's a dowel on the back, or like an alignment pin, that is holding it in place. And several connectors, so don't just go yanking. There's several electric connectors, one for the door lock, one for the light on the top, one for the light on the bottom, and the window switch, along with 2 cables. And in order to remove the cables, you just sort of pivot them out and pull up, and then you will be free. One of the electrical connectors there, I think it was for the light. It was really giving me a hard time. And alternatively, if you want to remove the light at the bottom of the door first, you can do that before you remove the door panel. You just pry it down and remove the connector. Or you can do it this way. So kind of a recap, you can see where everything is that I removed. There's the 2 cables, the white ones on top, the green ones on the bottom. One for the window switch and one for the door lock. You can see that this car has already had the vibration issue resolved, and 2 clips didn't come out, so I'll need to remove those and reinstall those into the door panel before we put it back on. So now on to removing the carbon fiber trim. There are probably a dozen or so Phillips head screws that you need to remove in order to have this pop out. There are 3 that are hidden, however, and I'll show you that. One in the upper corner, hidden behind the foam. One in the middle, hidden by this wiring harness or foam or something there. And then the third one in the upper corner behind another piece of foam. So once you have those all removed, you just sort of take your time and pry it out. And then it's still attached to another assembly that has the LED light at the bottom of it for ambient light at nighttime. There are several clips that are just kind of pressure fit, holding that carbon fiber piece in place. Once you remove it, that's what it looks like. Just take your time with that so you don't break anything, don't scratch anything. And of course, the reverse is the same. Put your new piece in, it pops right in, screw everything back down, and reattach everything. Not very difficult overall, just it takes a long time. It's a long process. And definitely something you can do yourself. Forgot to put the 2 little blue clips back in. So there we go. So that's what the final product looks like when you have everything reinstalled. And of note, there is the dowel or the alignment pin that I'm talking about on the door panel, and there is a big square hole on the metal part on the door side that aligns to. When you put the door back on, the door panel back on, you have to go up and over so it kind of sits on that little rib, and then you're kind of pulling out as you push down to get that dowel to align. That's the trickiest part of this whole thing, is getting that to align back up. But before you do that, you have to reattach everything first. And so that's how you remove the carbon fiber trim in these cars. I think that as long as you take your time, you should be fine. It's just simple hand tools and trim tools is all you need. If you do send him off to SMA Fabrication, use the discount code ALLTHINGSF on his website and you'll get 10% off. Again, I don't see a dime from it. I'm just doing it to help out a small business, and I use him, support him, no problems at all using him. I'm very happy with his work. So highly recommended if that's the way you want to go. There are other options out there as well. So thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.